jump in here. So, let's see. This is popular episode 4.
Beautiful. The subject is?
Story time.
Very good.
Hey CCOF students, welcome to Story Time.
Welcome. Bienvenidos.
Bienvenidos. I'm Wes.
I'm Garrett.
This is Garrett. And Garrett, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do here at CCOF for those who don't know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So at Christ Church of Flagstaff, I'm one of the worship pastors on staff and have been working here 7 years now, actually. So it's been fun to be around. Before that, I was a middle school pastor for 6 of those years, actually. So
Wow.
I've known Wes for...
Ever?
Well, the story we're telling today, I'm trying to think, was probably one of my first memories of you, which would have been 2007?
Yeah.
2008 at the latest.
Yeah, 2008.
So
latest.
minimum 12 years.
Yeah.
So,
Well, funny story. So Garrett and I both grew up in Flagstaff. I mean, you had a short stay in Chandler.
Short stay in Chandler, but
you claim Flag.
I will claim Flagstaff
Yes.
as my home. Yeah.
Yeah, and as did I. I grew up here. We actually both grew up at this church, at CCOF. But my mom remembers helping with VBS one year.
Your mother, she's so sweet. Fun story. On the patio, right where we currently have,
just
fire
right out
pits,
our window.
tables.
Yeah.
Someone was pulling me in a red wagon and shifted the turning device a little quick, and I flew out of the wagon and I split my chin open. And Wes's mom was the one who was like, "Oh my gosh!" Shoved me full of gauze and cradled me as I wept. And
But my mom remembers that very fondly.
Well, she
She's
took
like,
good care of me.
I love Garrett. So, mom,
Kind
if you're
lady.
watching, thank you.
Thank you
for saving Garrett.
saving my chin, the
Yeah.
moneymaker.
So, today is story time, and we are just telling stories, specifically about influence. And we're talking about how God wants to use whatever you have to help other people follow Jesus. Specifically, your ability to, affect people's behavior or thinking or choices. And I wanted Garrett to come with us today because, like I said, we grew up here and we went to the same youth group. Now we're like 2 years. I'm 2 years older than you, which now at 29 and 27 isn't really a big deal.
Doesn't feel like a big
Yeah,
deal.
it doesn't feel. We feel very much here, but in high school, especially freshman junior year thing,
That's a big difference.
it felt like a really big deal then. And I remember I was kind of like an athlete. I was not musical like yourself.
So cool.
Yeah.
Music.
We're
We're always the coolest.
I just remember you playing guitars and girls listening, and I thought that was so awesome.
I don't know.
Even as a freshman,
There wasn't a lot of girls. It was mostly boys,
It was-
but they were impressed.
It was a drum circle.
Yeah,
Just-
exactly.
No,
a lot of hacky sacks.
No, but all the girls would listen to Garrett play guitar, and I always thought he was so cool. Musicians in general, I thought were really cool. That was musicians, not magicians. Although I don't hate magic.
interchangeable.
Yeah.
Both pretty cool.
So, anyways, I'm kind of the jock athletic type, but I never really was homecoming queen.
I would be impressed.
Let's try that again. I was never a homecoming king or prom king or any of that. I never was. Felt like I was super popular. I never really thought. I had kind of a small friend group, and most of my high school career, I actually spent my time with my girlfriend, and so I kind of chose to be there instead of influencing other people. So I never felt like I had a whole lot of influence, and we didn't have Instagram or Facebook to measure those sort of things, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So I kind of walked through high school thinking I was kind of nobody, to be totally honest with you. I didn't think I had anything, even though I was captain of the football team and a pretty decent athlete, and I was always at basketball games and in the student leading the student section and stuff. I never realized that I was influential until one day we were in college or out of college.
We might have been living together for that
Yeah.
summer, maybe.
Yeah,
I
we
think.
were kind of roommates, and you told a story with Garrett Shelp was there, and you told a story because I was like, man, I really wasn't that cool in high school, and you're like, whoa, hold on.
Yes.
Do you remember this story?
I do. It's coming back to me now. I think it was like a move up, maybe.
Yeah, like a youth event.
Yeah,
for
it was
those of
something.
you
It was
who
something
would know.
outside.
Yeah.
I think. And you must have been a junior, I guess, at minimum, maybe a senior.
Okay.
And I just remember, yeah, it was like,
So you were a freshman or a sophomore?
yeah, probably a freshman, maybe becoming a sophomore. That move up, kind of weird summertime campy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember, I knew who you were. Wes is downplaying it. He was really cool. To the musician who was like, no one notices me, right? So emotional inside myself. Wes is like wearing his Letterman jacket. He has this sweet,
I did wear my Letterman jacket a lot.
sweet
Yeah.
blue Dodge truck that he always, right?
It was silver.
Oh, silver.
It was
Okay,
silver.
silver.
But yeah, it was sweet. I'm not gonna
It was
lie to you.
really cool. And it was just like, oh man, like he goes to Sonawa, which was a high school at the time. Sonawa was like the place to be. Sorry, Flag
rest
High.
in peace,
Yeah.
Sonawa, yeah.
Or Ankoko. I mean, beautiful schools, but the Mustangs.
Last of
Rip.
the tribe.
Yeah, that's right. May they run forever.
Maybe.
No, but like all joking aside, like yeah, Wes was just this cool guy who like he was funny and he was super involved in church, but like had friends outside of church, which I think is really hard to do even today. Like if you feel that, I feel your pain. It's hard to kind of bridge those two worlds sometimes if you have really strong roots at youth group and really strong roots at school. And so I just saw Wes as like, yeah, he's this cool guy that like I would like to get to know, but like clearly we're really different, which is just such a lie because we're so not different from each other. It's just the things that
we have a lot more in common. I
yeah,
think.
absolutely.
Yeah, than we have in difference.
And especially then, like even
And that's true for everybody, not just us.
100%.
Like, you can find common ground with almost anybody you're willing to like try to get to know.
yeah, absolutely. And so it's just the the lies that we tell ourselves of like he would never want to talk to me, she would never want to talk to me. And I just remember seeing Wes as like this really cool guy who was an upperclassman and clearly like was into the Jesus thing and helping other people experience that, but had like a normal life outside of church and was like fun to be around. And I just remember, I think at that youth event, you like came up and acknowledged me for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, he knows who I am. I was like, oh my gosh, he knows who I am. Like the guy with the Letterman jacket just said my name. As I'm like,
Are Letterman jackets still a thing? I don't like.
they must be.
I
They're still
hope
cool.
so. God,
I never
hope
had one, so
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I did get a class ring. That's another story.
That's a cool thing.
Long story short, I just remember feeling like recognized and seen, right? Like there are these people in our life, whether they're people at school, people at youth group, people on our sports teams or extracurricular stuff, where like you just want to be recognized by them, right? You want to be seen, you want to be known, because at a certain point, a lot of us, put value in that. And I'm not saying that's something we should shoot for, but there's just these people in our life that are not necessarily super connected to us, but we want to get to know and that we, look up to or that we're impressed by, that we think are cool, that we want to emulate. And so I just remember seeing you as that kind of guy. And we really, honestly, we never hung out in high school.
No, there was never really anything after that.
I mean,
until
we saw each other at youth group.
we were like
and,
20 and 22.
Yeah, and then we ended up living together, like downtown. And it was just...
And then we had like we did ministry apart, and then you here and me in Florida, and then now we're like really good friends again, hang out a lot. And
absolutely.
It's just so weird how life brings that
I know.
full circle.
It's super weird. Yeah, we're still sitting in like the church that we grew up in.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
I
Jesus
spilled
works
a
that.
lot of like stuff on this carpet.
Yeah, this was actually the room that I was crying in when your mom took care of my lip. So, full circle. Here we are.
Well, Garrett, thank you for sharing that story.
Absolutely.
And I feel so honored, like, to even be at that part of your life and be a part, like, your friend today. But I really think, there's two sides of this thing, right? Like, there are people who want to be seen, and then there are people who think that them seeing others doesn't really matter at all. And the truth is, I think we're chronically unaware of our like influence on other people. And if you're like me, it's because I was like pretty self-absorbed. I was so insecure and worried about what people would think, and concerned about myself and what was going on inside me, which isn't always wrong, right? Like you have to worry about those things and like be concerned and allow Jesus to work through those with you. But I think when we begin to live lives that are focused outside of ourselves is when we really start to see influence, right? Like that's
Absolutely.
a story about that boy and Jesus. Like that's the whole thing, is like the kid was willing to step outside of himself and offer just what he had to Jesus and say, hey, like I'm willing for you to use this. And sometimes that just looks like saying hi to an underclassman. So, well, thank you guys for joining us for story time today. We'll see you tomorrow for episode 5. Garrett, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I love you. You
Love
are
you.
you are my good friend.
Anytime.
We'll see you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.